In-depth analysis and review is a core component from the skill training portion and takes place immediately after reading skill. This component is broken down into two parts, passage coverage and answer justification. And this video will focus on passage coverage. During this component, students apply the skill in their reading passages, which helps in understanding the core information regarding the topic. To prepare for this component, you will need the textbook, the workbook, and the answer key or class guide. To teach or simulate this component, you will need the textbook and the workbook. This component will be simulated during training.
Okay guys, let's go ahead and go over your in-class quiz. First, let's look at the title. Can you read us the title, Megan?
Changing of the guard.
Very good. So, according to this title, what are we changing, Sharon?
The guard.
Good. Now, if you think about what a guard does, what do guards do, Sharon?
They protect something.
Very good. So let's go ahead and look at the overall title of this passage. And when we look at the overall title, who do you think that we are talking about? Megan?
The president.
Good. So what do you think that this passage is going to talk about?
The changing of the president.
Very good. And based on the title, what do you think might be our pattern of organization? Sharon?
Time.
Good. And why did you say time?
Because something is changing.
Okay, very good. Now let's look at the passage. Now this passage, it does not have an introductory paragraph, so it doesn't have a thesis. What we have to do is we have to find the main ideas and major details of each paragraph and then see if we can figure out the thesis. So let's go ahead and look at the first paragraph. What is the main idea of the first paragraph? Megan?
2 months after Tet came the first presidential primary in New Hampshire.
Very good. And why is this the main idea?
It helps us predict what the paragraph will be about.
Very good. And what are some key words that help us identify, Sharon?
2 months after and presidential primary.
Very good. Let's go ahead and circle those key words, underline those main ideas, and write it in our outline. And what type of transition is 2 months, Megan?
Time.
Very good. So based on that, what do you think our major details will be about, Sharon?
The presidential primary.
Good. And what about it specifically?
Who is involved?
Very good. So let's go ahead and relook at that first paragraph and find the first major detail. What is the first major detail, Megan?
There, Minnesota Senator Eugene McCarthy was campaigning primarily on the anti-war issue.
Very good. And why is this the first major detail?
It supports the main idea.
Good. And how does it support the main idea?
It introduces a presidential candidate.
Very good. Let's go ahead and underline that sentence and write it in our outline. Okay, now let's go ahead and look for the next major detail. Sharon, what is the next major detail?
Johnson had not entered the New Hampshire primary, but as McCarthy's anti-war candidacy strengthened, Johnson's political advisors organized a write-in campaign for the president.
Very good. And why is this a second major detail?
Because it supports the main idea.
Good. And how does it support the main idea?
It introduces another presidential candidate.
Very good. Let's go ahead and underline that sentence and write it in our outline. Okay, there's one more major detail. Megan, what is that major detail?
New York Senator Robert Kennedy's announcement of his candidacy and his surging popularity in the public opinion polls added to the pressure on Johnson.
Very good. And why is this the third major detail?
It supports the main idea.
Good. And how does it support the main idea?
It introduces another presidential candidate.
Very good. Let's go ahead and underline that sentence and write it in our outline. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the second paragraph. Sharon, what is the main idea of the second paragraph?
On March 31st, 1968, a haggard-looking president delivered a major televised speech announcing changes in his Vietnam policy.
Very good. And why is this the second main idea?
Because it helps us predict what the paragraph will be about.
Good. And what are some key words that help us identify it? Megan?
March 31st, 1968, major televised speech and changes.
Good. Let's go ahead and underline that main idea and circle those key words. What type of transition is March 31st, 1968? Megan?
Time.
Very good. So, based on our main idea, what do you think our major details will be about? Sharon?
The speech and the changes.
Very good. So let's go ahead and find those major details. What is the first major detail? Sharon?
The United States was going to seek a political settlement through negotiations in Paris with the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese.
Very good. And why is this the first major detail?
It supports the main idea.
Good. And how does it support the main idea?
Gives us information regarding his speech and the changes in the policy.
Very good. I want you guys to underline the sentence and write it in our outline. Okay, let's go ahead and find the next major detail. Megan, what is the second major detail?
At the end of his speech, Johnson calmly made this announcement: I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as president.
Very good. And why is this the major detail?
It supports the main idea.
Good. And how does it support the main idea?
It gives more information regarding his speech.
Good. I want you guys to underline that sentence and write it in the outline. Okay, good job, guys.